we did a lot of work on Monday with the glutes, and kind of keeping in that theme, I just want to work with the glutes a little bit more, slightly differently today than we did on Monday, but nonetheless, we're going to work with them again, but in a different way. So hold on, let me just make sure I got everybody squared away here. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I hope this works. Let's see. Let me know. I'm going to, Sarah, I can see you. So when it comes up, when you, it's just going to take a second to load. Do you see my anatomy app loading up? Steve, I can see it. Wait, is that Steve? Steve, I see you. Look into the screen so I can see your face. Do you see the anatomy app coming up?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so I just want to look at something here. How can I make this bigger? I can't make my screen
we're
bigger.
naked.
Yeah, now we're naked, really naked. Okay. So for some reason, I'm having a hard time moving my whole screen to make it bigger. I can't like access there. So we're just gonna have to do with what we got. Hopefully it's enough for you guys to see. So this is a male pelvis, and I'm gonna start, well, first let me turn him around so you can see the back side of him. Can everybody see him okay? I have to kind of move over on my screen so I can see him because there's a lot of other stuff on my screen. All right, so here's your the back side of your pelvis, and we're gonna just add some. I'm gonna keep all the connective tissue off, but I'm gonna add all the muscles. So these are deep to most superficial layering of your musculature, and you can start to see that the pelvic floor muscles, the back side of the pelvic floor muscles, really start in relating with the glutes. So these are this is the piriformis, if you've heard me talk about that muscle. These are all your deep lateral rotators, which also contribute to the back of the pelvic floor. But what we're going to focus on today is the glutes. So this muscle right here is your gluteus minimus. It's the smallest of the three gluteal muscles and the most interior, you know, the deepest layer. And notice that it doesn't attach onto your sacrum. It only attaches onto your pelvis to your femur bone. This is the head of your femur bone right here. This is the rim of the back side of your pelvis. And then here's the gluteus medius, also higher up on the back side of the pelvis, but still only attaching to the pelvis, not to the sacrum, and to the head of the femur bone in your hip joint right here. And then this is the gluteus maximus, which now attaches onto the edge of your sacrum and attaches all the way down lower on the head of the femur bone than where the gluteus medius and minimus attach. So those are your three gluteal muscles. Gluteus maximus is your big, strong mover. It extends your leg and abducts, meaning it takes your leg out to the side. And the gluteus medius, this one, and the gluteus minimus, this one, they don't concern themselves so much with moving the leg back. They're concerned with stabilizing the pelvis to the thigh bone. They connect the pelvis to the femur bone. So this is a very big stabilizing force when we are standing on one leg, which happens every step we take. Whenever we're walking, there's a moment in time when we are standing on one leg, and it's the gluteus minimus and the gluteus medius that are mostly responsible for making sure that the interface between our pelvis and our femur bone is solid so that we are stable. They also contribute, both of those muscles contribute to pulling the leg out to the side, abduction, along with the gluteus maximus. And because of the way the fibers, so if you can see how there's like a little twisty in the fibers of the gluteus medius, when these fibers, the anterior surfaces of your gluteus medius, are kicked into gear, it rotates the head of your femur bone internally. So I don't know if you can tell that by the way the muscle fibers look, but both the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus, see how it attaches onto the front of the femur bone? This enables it to flex the hip and to internally rotate, meaning, you know, you knock knees, like internally rotate your leg. So it's a very different action than the gluteus maximus, which externally rotates your leg. So we're going to do some force coupling, and what this means is just that when you have actions of muscles that are antagonistic to each other, meaning the gluteus medius and the minimus internally rotate, and the gluteus maximus externally rotates. When you simultaneously work both muscle groups, it's very stabilizing to the joint. So the humeral head, I mean, not the humeral head, the femur head in the hip joint will be very stable when you do that force coupling of oppositional muscles acting at the same time. So this is very good for stabilizing us when we're standing on one leg or walking. So we're going to work a little bit with that, and then we're going to work a little bit with how the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus, those two muscles, help forward fold you. So when you are able to flex these muscles, it keeps the head of the femur bone in a really solid place so that you can move the pelvis over the femur bone well. So we're going to work with that a little bit today too. So if anyone's interested, this 3D anatomy app is called 3D Medical, and you can get a free, I had to pay for the advanced version of it, but you can get a free version of it that just shows the bones, nothing else, if you want to online. So I'm going to stop screen sharing now, and let's do some yoga. So I hope, bear with me. I'm sorry, for those of you who are like not anatomy geeks like I am, thanks for spending 5 minutes to kind of understand your anatomy a little bit more. And if you have any questions after class, feel free, I can get that app back up and we can talk more about it. Okay, so take a moment to close your eyes, to sit up straight and tall, and forget about your anatomy for just a moment and come into your body, your mind, your body, your spirit. Feel a sense of grounding through the pelvis, feeling where you're touching whatever you're sitting on, whether it's the floor or a bolster or some blocks or pillows, whatever you're on. And allow yourself to root into that place. Feel a sense of broadness across your pelvis, this stable base that you have. And from there, let's lift the spine, come into state of softness through your spine, so you're almost like your vertebrae are floating instead of pushing upward. Feel a sense of ease come into the shoulders, allowing things to soften, melt across your face. All the places that you tend to hold tension, see what you can do to let things go. Just find your breath, feeling both the inhale and the exhale. Remembering that the long exhales often help us to come into that softer, more relaxed state. Feel the wholeness of you. You're not just a conglomeration of parts. You are a full being, body, mind, and spirit. Just take a moment to experience that, breathe that. And as you're ready, place your palms together at your heart. And just take a moment to soften in. What is it that you need today? Set an intention for your practice. Let's release the hands and come onto our back. Okay, so find your way. As you lie down, take your time and just have a moment of just resting your full body on the floor. Let yourself be easy and gentle, feeling your limbs drop. Let the cue of dropping your bones into the floor just be another way that you let your body know that now it's time to begin your practice, that you're embodied
that you're here now, not in the past or future, but in the body right here. Take stock and scan and notice if there's any place that needs your love and care today. Is there a place where you need to offer gentleness? Is there a place that you need to offer strength? Maybe both. And let's stretch, lengthen your arms, stretch your body, stretch your right side, stretch your left side. Just keep finding your way into some opening. Okay, so how do the side bodies feel? Let your hips come offline from each other. So stretch your right foot longer, stretch your left foot longer. And then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a little hug. And you can go ahead and rock a little bit. Feel the back side of your pelvis. See if you can feel the rim of that hip bone that you just had a visual for in that anatomy app. Feel where your sacrum is. Feel where your pelvis is. Okay, and then let's go ahead and bring the knees apart from each other and back in. Okay, so just finding the trajectory of movement that your femur bone likes inside your hip joint, and it might be different from left and right sides. So just find where your natural slide glide, you know, the head of the humerus, I keep saying humerus, sorry, the head of the femur bone should have a very smooth surface. Of course, as we age and wear and tear and injury and history and patterns, we can start getting maybe not so smooth. So just notice what kind of range of motion feels good. Open up the inner thigh muscles. Just feel some warming in the hip joints. Then bring the knees together and do some circling with your knees together and notice the sensation across the back of the pelvis, the sacrum, the back of the hips. Go ahead and switch directions. And then right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. Feel free to wiggle some toes, stretch open your feet, get your bare feet on, enjoy how it feels to be barefoot. And then change sides, left knee in, right leg long on the floor. Wiggle out your toes, stretch your ankles, open up your calves, your shins. And then bring both legs straight on the ground. Starfish your body. Open things up. Arms and legs wide on the floor. Exhale, knees into the chest. Pick up your head. Feel the rounding of the spine. One more time. Open things up. Big open breath. Feel the chest expand. Exhale. Draw yourself in. And then let's come out again to your starfish. Turn your feet straight up, point your toes straight up toward the sky, flex your feet, and engage your muscles. So flex everything you have access to, and notice your hips in particular, what's working with your feet turned up, and then relax that a little bit. And now turn your feet out, externally rotate your legs, and go ahead and squeeze all your muscles now. So you already can probably feel the difference between your gluteus maximus, which is engaging here, and then relax that. Now turn your feet straight up toward the sky and engage again, and you can probably feel your gluteus medius and minimus a little bit more profoundly than your maximus in this posture. So go back and forth between the two, externally rotate your legs, feel how your bigger glute muscles, your glute max, can kick in a little bit more. You might feel more fullness across the whole back side of your pelvis. Toes pointing straight up toward the sky, kneecaps pointing straight up. Engage. You may feel this more in the outside of your pelvis. So start to get familiar with what it feels like to engage your gluteus maximus versus your gluteus medius and minimus. And then relax your knees, bring them to the chest. I know we did this on Wednesday, but this is a really good example of a forced coupling that we're going to use today. So bend your knees, put your feet flat on the ground so that you're, as if you're about to prepare to come up to bridge pose. We're not going to do that at the moment. And put your fingers, your finger pads right on your hip bones. Find your bony parts, okay, right there in the front of your pelvis. And then slide off the sides of them toward the sides, toward the floor a little bit. And this is, even though this feels like it's on the side of you, this is that area where the gluteus minimus in particular, but the medius too, kind of extends over to the side of the pelvis. So just experiment with where you want your finger pads to be so you can feel. Take a deep breath in and see what it feels like to pull your feet apart from each other on the floor so you can feel those muscles kick in. And you might notice that your pelvic floor muscles start to kick in, a lot of muscles start to kick in. But see if you can isolate the action of the gluteus medius and minimus. Really, you're finding the minimus a lot in this action. Okay, so just experiment, knock the knees a little bit if you want to. It's okay to have the knees turned in to do this. Remember, they do internally rotate your thighs. So just start to experiment and find those muscles. We're going to be working with this a fair amount today. So it's a good place to start feeling them. Now we're going to find that force coupling with the gluteus maximus. So let your knees fall out to the sides a little bit, not so much like Supta Baddha Konasana. Feet are still flat on the floor. But we're going to let our knees come out away from the midline of your hip, maybe by an inch or two, and start to lift the pelvis up with a slight bit of external rotation. So the knees are just wider, a little bit wider than the hips. And feel the muscles kick in. And then relax the pelvis back down. Now I want you to just come up, forget about your gluteus medius and minimus for a minute. Focus just on your gluteus maximus. So kick it into gear to lift your pelvis up into a bridge pose. Feel your glutes engage. And then see what you can do to isometrically pull your feet apart. And you're going to notice that it's harder to access when your pelvis is already up in the air. You don't have the way the angles of your pelvis is, it's much harder to integrate those muscles. So come down again, and then we'll get moving, I promise. Now pull your feet apart. Feel those gluteus minimus and medius engage. Then lift the pelvis up. And notice if you have a little bit more integration of stabilizing with those muscles than you did when you didn't have them working first before the gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus is strong, so it will overpower. So we need to find those hidden muscles underneath sometimes. All right, relax. Bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little softness. Rock a little bit if it feels good. And then roll over onto your side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so find some cat-cows. Start moving the spine. Forget just, try not to isolate so much. So when we're focusing on a muscle group, it's very easy to burrow in on the body. Remember that you're a full being. So breathe into your full self. Open your heart. Feel the shoulders, the neck, all the ways that this pose, our grouping of poses, impacts your full spine and everywhere in your body. All right, and so then feel free to move things around. Do you want to move your shoulders around? Do you want to move your pelvis around? Do you want to sway from side to side and drop one hip over and then the other way? So just decide how, and maybe don't even think so much. Just let your body be the guide. What feels good? Follow what feels good. All right, and then come to a flat back. And we're going to let our hips shift left. So just let your whole hip settle out over to the left side, opening the side of the hip there, finding your breath. And then come back to center and go over the other side again, settling off to the right. How's your breath? Okay. And then come back to center. Stretch back to child's pose. Let the spine stretch, let the glutes stretch. Walk the hands forward if your shoulders are happy to do so. Hands coming over to the right side of the mat. Breathe deeply into the side rim of the body. All right, and then walk our hands over to the other side. Breathe deeply into the other side rim of the body. Feel where you're feeling this. Can you feel it in the outer rim, like right on the skin of your side? Can you feel it all the way deeper into where the ribs and the vertebrae meet? And then come back to center, come up onto all fours. Let's find our twist. Lift the arm up in the air, exhale and slide that shoulder down toward the floor. The opposite hand can have a little rooting into the ground. Try not to overpower the twist with your bone strength. Feel your breath. Let the femur bones move back here. And then inhale, reach that arm to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground, change sides. Arm up, slide that arm under. Have a little weight in the hand if it feels good. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Deepen your breathing. Femur bones back. And then inhale, lift that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground. Find your first down pose. All right, so let this pose be very mobile. Bounce around, bend the knees, play with the feet, move the hips around, drop a shoulder, move your neck, move your mouth, let your tongue be soft. See what it feels like to wake up the body. So there's nothing right or wrong to do here. It's only a matter of finding yourself in space and waking yourself up, letting your muscles softly open. All your soft tissue, your fascia, tendons, ligaments, everything needs a little movement sometimes to become supple. And then as you find some softness, feel the inner movement. So root into the index finger and thumb mounds, hug the hands toward each other, feel the stabilizing through your shoulders and torso, and then hug your feet away from each other to light up those muscles one more time. Lift the femur bones up and back. See if you can sense the heads of the femur bones in the hip joint drawing back toward the back side of the body. Keep moving. Notice if when you pull your feet apart, if you lose your big toes. So root into the big toes, stretch the inner heels toward the floor, and pull your feet apart isometrically. Are you dominant on one side? So if you have found that to be true, let's relax that. Walk your feet forward. Come into Uttanasana with your knees bent. If you have found it to be true that you have dominance, which is very common, pay attention to your non-dominant side as much as you can. Sometimes it's just a matter of coaxing the nervous system into aliveness that is needed to help balance your strength. Inhale for a halfway lift. Let the spine grow. Bend the knees a fair amount. And exhale and fold forward. Rise all the way up, reaching your arms to the sky. Take a deep breath in, lean back if you want. Open your arms to a cactus if you want. Just find what feels good. And then exhale to round and one more time. Reach the arms up. Exhale, bring your hands onto the tops of the hip joints. Bend your knees. So when we come, part of this action we're going to work with later in class today, not in the beginning, but later, is the sense of forward folding. So we want our pelvis to roll over our femur bones. So lift the tailbone, lift the sit bones, let the pelvis and the sacrum lift so that the spine can find its softness like a waterfall descending down. If your hamstrings get in the way of that action, bend your knees a lot. See if you can get the feeling that the pubic bone is passing through the inner thighs, the sit bones widen, a little inner spiral of your femur bones. Isometrically pull your feet apart here. Doesn't matter how deeply bent you are, how much your knees are bent, pull your feet apart and feel the work in the outer hips. This is your gluteus minimus and medius working. So get to know that feeling in the body. Inhale for a halfway lift. Thigh bones are back so you can hold your shins, your thighs, or blocks wherever you want to be. Exhale and release and melt back down. Push up your feet, rise up one more time. Arms to the sky, open your chest. Exhale and fold forward. Grab some blocks if you want them. Let's take our right foot forward and our left foot back. Come into a lunge on this side, extending the spine. Enjoy. Let's just start moving here. So find the, this pose is so great because we get to open and close so many different muscle groups. Our hip flexors of the back leg get to extend. Our hamstrings, our back, whole back line of the body on the front gets to expand. So just feel the flow and movement. Move with breath. Stay rooted through the big toe mounds. Try not to lose your feet in this posture. Try not to lose your breath either. All right, let's come into a lunge. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge. Find your work in this pose, so engage your glutes in your back leg, push your foot down in your front leg, find the extension through the spine.
Feel your sense of stability through your core. Breathing here. And then exhale and release your hands back down onto the ground. Walk your back foot forward some so you're in a shorter stance. Square the hips, extend the spine. Two hands can go on any height of the blocks. You can even stack your blocks if you need a little bit more height underneath you. Inner spiral of the thighs. Widen the sit bones. Let the pubic bone pass through the thighs. So you're really moving your whole pelvic girdle is tipping a little bit into an anterior tilt. Extend the spine from here. Feel your hamstring on the front leg stretch, and if you know that you have a trouble with that, press your heel down and pull it back so you have a flex stretch within that hamstring. Extend the spine. Finding your breath. Inhale, rise up, arms coming to the sky. Place your arms wherever you want them to be. They can interlace behind your back. You can keep your hands on your hips and come forward. So try not to go too far. If you go really far in this pose, sometimes we bypass a little something that we need to learn in our glutes. So find the extension, just peek over and notice if your hamstring is holding you here. What would it feel like to isometrically pull the feet apart from the midline, even though they're not together any longer, to feel the access of those pelvic stabilizers, your gluteus medius and minimus, and notice, did it take some of the pressure off your hamstring? So find some work in that, see what you're finding. Breathe deeply, and then release all the way toward the floor. Hands are on the blocks, hips are square. There's a lot of stretch in the hamstring here, so press the heel down, pull it back so you have a flex stretch within the hamstring. Extend the spine. Walk your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Extend the heart. Exhale and fold in half. Isometrically drag your feet apart. Keep firing up those muscles. Inhale for a halfway lift. Keep pulling your feet apart. Feel the work. Exhale and relax and come back down. Step your left foot forward and your right foot back. Coming into a lunge on this side. Start moving. Opening up the hip flexors, opening up the hamstrings, taking your time. Enjoy the little break that your glutes are getting just by moving in this way, so we're not focusing on them so much. Are you breathing well? All right, and then the next time you come into a lunge, stabilize, get your legs where you want them to be, so you can always take the front knee out to the side, and if you're struggling, less bend in the knee can be a very good thing. You can always put your back knee on the ground as well to help support you. There's always ways to modify everything. If you're dealing with injury recovery or having a bad day or anything that you need. Okay, arms up. Find the sense of work in the back leg. Extend the leg, not just by pushing the knee back, but by engaging the glutes in that back leg. Feel your gluteus maximus, extend the leg. Press your front foot into the floor to feel the glutes in your front leg. Find your breath, reach up, extend through the spine. Deep breaths here. Let go of your glutes. Notice you can stay here and have such little glute activation, right? But why not recruit? Well, everything we can. These are big, strong muscles in our bodies. Exhale and release your hands down onto the ground. Walk your back foot in some. Feel free to adjust your feet if you need to take the front foot out to the side more, if you need to have blocks higher, find your way. All right, and then we'll come on up. You can have your hands on your hips, interlace behind you, however you want to be. And let's not go very far, just having a little peek over the edge. Feel the work that's happening in your legs. Can you feel the isometrics of pushing the feet apart? Extend through the spine. Deep breaths in and away. All right, and then we can come a little bit further. Bring your hands down onto the blocks. Remember with that hamstring, if this is a very big pose for your hamstring, go higher with height. Also have if you've torn your attachments of your hamstring in your life, have that sense of protection. So push your foot down and drag it back so your hamstrings flexing at the same time as extending. Get a lot of recruitment in all the fibers instead of just relying on the tendons. Extend the spine. Do the little isometrics here. Pull those feet apart. Internally rotate your thighs. Pass the pubic bone through the inner thighs. Sit bones widen. Feel the whole pelvis tilt. Extend the spine. All right, let's go ahead and release that. Bring both hands down onto the ground and step back to a plank. So the hands are on the floor, the feet are on the floor. Start to feel the rest of your body recruit in, hug toward the midline. Find your breath. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And let's put our knees down. Come all the way to the floor. However you safely get there. Inhale, cobra pose. Doesn't have to be giant. Exhale and release. Back down. So we've done this lots of times before. I want you to make sure you have some core integration when you do this. So curl your toes under, lift your kneecaps off the ground, and spread your legs a little wider. So here we are in abduction. So this is a place where that force coupling really comes into play, where we get to use all three of our glute muscles. So take a deep breath in. Kneecaps are going to face the floor, and we're going to lift the legs up. Spaciousness in the lumbar spine. See if you cannot let yourself get too crunched up. Breathe, and then exhale and release. Turn your knees, so pick up your legs again and turn your knees out and feel the lift now from your gluteus maximus, or just engaging that. And notice when you lift your legs up with your feet turned out, there's a lot more compression across your sacrum. I hope you can feel the difference when you're not recruiting the gluteus medius and minimus and only relying on your max. Relax, turn the toes in again. Let's try one more time with the force coupling of all three of your glutes working together. Kneecaps are facing the floor. Take a deep breath and lift up. Notice your lumbar spine and your sacrum. Is there less compression? Deep breaths. And then relax. Push back to child's pose, or come up onto all fours and move around in some cat-cows or anything that feels good. Allow the glutes to stretch open. Breathe deeply. Inhale and exhale. Come up to dog pose when you're ready. Find the length of your spine. Lift the sit bones and widen them. Let the backs of the legs and the glutes stretch. Deep breaths here. Inhale, lift the right leg up in the air. Find your breath. Bring that foot forward, come to a lunge. Walk the back foot in. Inhale, rise up. Shorter stance again, just like we had before. Arms up. Bring the hand onto the hip, right hand on hip. Stretch the left arm forward. Find the work of your hamstrings, that stretch flex. Place the hand on a block or blocks, whatever you want, and find your way into a revolved triangle pose. Stay rooted through the big toes. Extend the spine. Enjoy the stretch here. Open yourself up, shoulders away from the ears. Deep breaths in and away. Can you feel the inner spiral of the thighs? All right, and then let's go ahead and relax. Bring your hand back down onto the ground. Bring your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step your other foot back. Shorter stance. Come on up. Left foot is forward, right foot is back. Arms up to the sky, bring your hand on your hip. Take a deep breath, reach forward. Let's come into revolved triangle pose on this side. Support underneath your hand, whatever height you need it to be. Feel free to take your left foot out to the left more. Inner spiral of the thighs, extend the spine. Stay rooted through the big toe mound. Find your breath here. Enjoy, open up your chest. Shoulders away from the ears. Deep breaths in and away. All right, let's go ahead and relax and come down. Two hands onto the ground. Lift that leg straight up in the air and back. Exhale and place your foot down onto the ground. Extend through dog pose. Walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Bend your knees as much as you want.
Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Grab a block if you have one. Stick it between your thighs. Have your feet hip width apart even if you don't have a block to put between your thighs. And let's find our way into chair pose. So obviously we're holding a block, so we have a little bit of strength against the block. Don't grip the block, just a little bit of stability there. And then find your feet pulling apart from each other. Find the side that might be a little bit weaker. See if you can balance the forces of drawing toward the block, moving your feet away from each other. Find your way into any variation of the arm movement that feels good. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. Imagine pushing like you weigh 500 pounds instead of push off the floor as if you were trying to stand up straight, but you can't because you weigh 500 pounds. Okay, so that much work of drawing into the earth, pulling your feet apart. Breathe deeply. All right, we'll go ahead and stand on up. Exhale, keep the block, fold in half. One more time with the isometrics. I'm beating a dead horse, I know, but I want it to integrate into your body. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Take the block out, step back to a plank. All right, shoulders away from the ears. Find the deep breath. Find the fullness of your body. Feel the crown to the tail to the heels. And then lower yourself down however you like to get down to the floor. Let's add arms to the back bend, wide legs, toes turned under, kneecaps flat, arms up or arms down. Everything lifts up. Find your breath. Feel the full muscles along the back body working. Turn your legs internally and let this be soothing to your sacrum. Keep your core intact and engaged. Exhale and melt back down. Come on up, come on to all fours. Do some swivels, do some sways, whatever feels really good in your body. We're going to move in a slightly different direction now. Walk your feet forward, come on up to stand. Rooting into your right foot, let's just practice a little gentle balance. Notice if your hip wants to stick out, use those muscles that we've been working so hard for to stabilize you as you lift your knee in the air. Just testing the waters of balance. Find your breath, put your arms wherever you want them to be. Open the spine, lift it up. And then let's put our foot down onto the ground. Change sides. Bring the other knee up, hug in. The gluteus medius and minimus stabilizing you. So Monday's class, we worked a lot with gluteus max. Today, I really want you to find those smaller stabilizing muscles in the body. Is your knee that you're standing on soft? Can you feel the fullness? Feel your crown all the way to your tail. Are you yielding? Are you breathing? And then release your foot down onto the ground. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale and fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt. Step back to dog pose. Extending through the spine again. Stretch your glutes. Inhale, lift that leg straight up in the air, right leg. Exhale, bring your foot forward. Come on up to crescent lunge and turn and open up to the side. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So just see what it feels like to work all of your muscles in this posture. Spread your arms out if it's comfortable for you to do so. Open your spine. Deep breaths. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. What's alive in your pelvis that wasn't alive earlier from all the work we've done? Slide the arm down. Inhale, rise up. Take a deep breath. We're going to find our way into triangle pose. Open the spine, find your breath. Arm can go wherever you want it to be. Feel the deep external rotation of that front leg. Engage through the back leg. Engage your glutes in that back leg. Press your heel down.
come on up. Turn your feet to the long edge. Take squat, a wide squat. Elbows inside your knees. Deep breaths. Heel toe your feet in a little closer. Come into another squat. Now imagine you're 500 pounds again and you're trying to stand up. Okay, so push off the feet. You're not moving anywhere. This is an isometric in and of itself. Push the floor away. Extend the spine. Then we're going to stand all the way up. Turn your feet the other way. Virabhadrasana 2 on this side. So know where your range of motion needs to be. Maybe you're up high here. Maybe you're much lower. Maybe this hip turns. Maybe it doesn't. See if you can work the glutes in the back leg. Push the front leg down, the front foot down into the floor. Find your breath. Everything gets a little more complicated when there's rotation happening in the legs. So let's just find the feeling of that. Breathe deeply. Push your feet into the ground. Track the knee over the ankle or before it, not beyond it. Slide that arm down the leg. Lift the arm in the air. Open the ribs up. And then when you're ready, straighten the leg and come into triangle pose. Find your breath. Try not to hyperextend the knee. Find the external rotation in that femur bone and the hip joint. Extend the spine. Feel the feet. So if you push your foot into the floor, your back foot, does it help your glutes kick in a little bit? See what's there without overpowering. So just notice, experiment in your body. What feels right? And then go ahead and come on up and out of the pose. You need a block. Okay, so Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. I have no room here to do this pose well, so I'll do my best. When you come into this posture, you want to make sure your foot is pointing straight. So a couple things, because our gluteus, medius, and minimus are our stabilizing muscles when we're standing on one leg, we want to have them active, and I hope they're so alive in you right now that even though we're going to be extra, so this is the force coupling. When we're standing on this leg and opening up, we're externally rotating this leg, which inhibits the gluteus medius and the minimus because they are antagonistic to that relationship. So hopefully they're turned on enough where when you come into the external rotation and have to use your gluteus maximus, your gluteus medius is sharing in that so that you can force couple around the hip joint and stabilize really well on that standing leg. I hope that makes sense. So let me just show you, when you're coming up into Ardha Chandrasana, this leg you're standing on is externally rotated. It's not internally rotated like half splits, it's externally rotated. So find the gluteus medius and the minimus, find the maximus on that leg. And then the same with this leg in the air, you have to do all three. Pull the leg up so that you're abducting, so all three muscle groups find their way there. If balance is your issue, go against the wall. Find something to hold on to so you don't have to worry about your balance when we're trying to really find this force coupling of joint integration. We're trying to hug the joint, okay? So find your way, find your breath, see if you can access the feeling of your gluteus medius and minimus that we've worked so hard to light up and turn on in your body, as well as the gluteus maximus, which naturally wants to turn on in this pose in that bottom leg. With your leg in the air, feel the abduction, lift the leg high, feel the work of the leg or the hips and the glutes to do that. Find your breath. Make sure this knee you're standing on is not locked out. So a little micro bend. Breathe deeply. And then a big, giant step back out. And come to the second side. So maybe your balance might be a little bit better when you have that sense of coupling around the head of the humerus bone. I keep saying humerus. The head of the femur bone. So notice if when you activate both the gluteus medius and the minimus along with the maximus, if there's a sense of integration, a sense of stability in that hip joint, okay? If you're not sure how to access the medius and the minimus in that pose, remember the dragging the feet apart. See what it feels like when you're standing on that foot to to try to imagine that your foot is going towards the pinky toe side of the mat. So nothing's going to move. Don't play with it too much because you'll fall. Just get that sense of moving it in that direction. The leg in the air lifts, lift it high, press your foot back. Feel the force coupling on both sides of your pelvis. Hold on to something. Take the balance out. Okay. Soften the knee. Breathe deeply here. All right. And then just see what it feels like to slowly lower yourself down and out of the pose. Come back to the front of your mat. Lift the left leg up in the air. Balance out the posture. Put your foot down onto the ground and extend. Soften the knees, heads of the femur bones back. Deep breaths here, extend the spine. And as you're ready, walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. One very last time, let's integrate that action. Pull your feet apart. Notice if your weaker side's a little stronger. Soften the knees. And when you're doing this, try to forward fold with that work. See if everybody let go of that and pull your feet toward each other and forward fold. And just feel the difference. What changes in the back side of your pelvis? How does the movement of your sacrum feel when you pull your feet apart? You have a little more access to lift the tail there versus when you pull your feet toward each other. Can you feel the difference of what it does for your forward folding? And then let's go ahead and come down onto the ground. Come onto your knees. Come onto your seat. Okay, so you need some support probably for this. So let's go ahead and come onto a blanket if you need to. Spread our legs wide, okay? So don't go to your extreme. Okay, find what's comfortable for you. Breathe deeply here. Soften your breath. Let it kind of still center down into the body. Try not to, get so stuck in trying to lift yourself that you don't let the breath go down. The kneecaps are pointing up toward the sky. Feet are pointing there too, and you get to just go where you go. See if you can feel the pelvis roll over the femur bones instead of rolling back and letting your spine come forward. So move from the angle of movement is coming from the pelvis rolling over the femur bones. So access that. Let the spine be left alone. It's neutral. Your spine is neutral in this posture. It's following the pelvis. Engage your leg muscles. Try not to be passive. So you might be here with your hands behind your back. You might be with blocks underneath your knees because your knees need to be bent. So there's so many different ways of modifying this pose so that you're not overdoing the attachments of your inner thighs and hamstrings. All right, let's come out of there. Bring your feet forward. Tuck in a little bit. And the last forward fold we'll do is Paschimottanasana. You can have a blanket rolled underneath your knees if you need knees bent in this pose. Okay, so straps are nice if you have them. Try not to let this pose be about your back rounding. See if you can feel the pelvis roll. So this is why sitting on the edge of a blanket can be helpful because it tips the pelvis into an anterior tilt, which is what we want for forward folds. We want the pelvis to roll over the femur bones. So the heads of the femur bones are dropping down. Maybe you can grip your heels into the mat and pull your heels apart from each other to get that access to the flexion in your gluteus minimus in particular. And just find your way into wherever you go. If you want to use a strap, you can use a strap. Try not to overdo the spine. All right, let's go ahead and come on out of there. take your props away for a moment and come to lie down on your back. You're going to need your props, so have them close by. So just pause here for a moment. Put your feet flat on the ground. We're going to do a simple twist. Lift your hips up, scooch them right, knees up, drop them left. Enjoy the twisting here. So the sense of just being able to relax your body in a twist. Start to feel the outer hips stretch open a little bit. Deep breath in and away. Inhale, lift your knees back up. Let's move our hips the other way. Bring your knees up, drop them down. And anytime your practice is very focused on anatomy, it can be very easy to get lost in the forest. So feel your forest again. Breathe fully. Feel your whole being. Go ahead and lift your knees up. If you have a strap, grab your strap. 2 feet are coming up in the air. Let the femur bones move back here. Stretch the glutes a little bit. All right, and then we're going to find happy baby pose just for a moment. Allow the back to relax, rock a little bit, stretch a little bit if you want. And then we're going to find reverse pigeon pose. You can always change and do pigeon pose if you prefer. Actually, don't, because there's something specific I want to do here. So put your right foot on top of your left knee. Either put your foot on a wall or grab behind your hamstring or the front of your shin. And feel free to rock, move a little bit, start to get into opening up all of those muscles we worked so hard with. Deep breath in and away. All right, so this action in particular might be trying for some, so have props nearby, like a blanket or a block in case this is too deep for you. So I want you to, our right foot is on our left knee. We're going to drop our legs to the left. So prop underneath your foot or knee with a block or anything if you can't reach the floor. Hold on around your right ankle with your left hand and find your breath here. If your foot comes down to the ground, you might be able to adjust where your hand is. So just see where you're at. Breathe into the external rotation. And then come all the way back up. Straighten your legs, starfish your body. Take a breath. And then exhale, knees into the chest, head up. Switch sides, right foot on the floor, left foot on right knee. Reverse pigeon pose on this side. Grab shin, grab calf, foot on wall, wherever you're going. Do you want to move and rock? Do you want to be still? Sometimes I put my right hand on my shin and my left hand on my knee and kind of swirl it around a little bit and do some range of motion. So just experiment. What feels good in your body? All right, now we're going to do, after a couple more breaths, go get whatever prop you need, reach for it, so that when we bring our knees over to the right, you go where you go. So maybe you make it to the floor, maybe you don't. Support yourself in any way that you need supporting. Deep breaths here, just stretch
into that external rotation. It's a very unique way of stretching these muscles. As you're ready, bring yourself out of there. 2 knees into your chest. Rock a little bit. Maybe you'd rather be straight and flat on the floor. Maybe you'd rather have a moment of putting a block under your pelvis. So just give yourself a neutral place to be for a moment. Deep breath in and away. And now grab 2 blocks or blankets or whatever you have. I've lost my other props. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, flat on the ground with our back support underneath your hips, knees, with whatever props you have. So allow yourself to be very melty in this. So probably your hips are a little achy from the practice. That's good. I hope that you're fatigued. Now you get to just rest in a little bit of stretch for the gluteus medius and minimus. This shouldn't be extreme. Let yourself be supported. If you have a bolster, you can even put the bolster underneath your feet right behind you. So your feet are up. This also can feel very soothing. If your feet are up on something, this can sometimes be even more soothing for the gluteus medius and minimus. So you decide how you want to be, feet on the floor or feet supported. See what works best for you. Deep breaths in, deep breaths away. Whole body feeling. Travel along your breath. Now maybe you're super duper comfortable and you'd like to just stay here for Shavasana. And maybe it would feel much better to you to support underneath your knees or have your legs straight and just let your legs be long instead of rotated. So you decide how you want to be in Shavasana. You might even put your legs up on something like a bolster or a couch or whatever you have. So whatever you're choosing, go ahead and find comfort. Once you're settled, allow yourself to relax. Melt what you can into the floor. Feel the broadness across your pelvis and your sacrum. Ease yourself into Shavasana. Eyes are soft, the jaw, the back of the head is resting, the base of the skull is melting. Deep, big belly breaths, spine soft, limbs heavy.
begin to deepen our breathing. Feel your body melt into the floor again. Find our way into some movement, stretching, breathing. Let's eventually find ourselves coming onto our side. Take your time, find the way that works best for you. Let's go ahead and roll over onto your side if you're not there yet, and push yourself up to sit. Bring your hands to your heart, and let's offer our concentration, our energy. Open your heart and send your energy out. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.